Hello Tubesters, it's Gav and welcome to another one of my videos. Today we've got a reveal of a 1 in 72 scale aircraft that I've been building along in the background, so I've not done any updates or unboxings or anything like that on it. I just thought I was going through a stage, probably since I started modelling really, that I'd say I'm doing this and they peter out for different reasons. It's never been really any loss of a want to build a kit. It's just been, it's like the T-34 build that's now gone in a box. I'm not going to scrap that. I'm going to see when I can get that. I have lost what they call it mojo on that, only because of the tracks, and I just can't face faffing around with it at the moment, which is a shame. But because I've put so much work into it, it's going in a box until I can get the gumption to try and tackle it again. One of the very few that I'll do that. But anyway, we're digressing. So yeah, I'm getting quite renowned at the moment, well, if not renowned, but well known for building models, and I do a model build series, and a lot of them don't see fruition, or if they do, they're not completely right or whatever. So you guys put up with a heck of a lot on my channel. The guys that do the Patreon that say become patrons and all the rest of it, I should be paying you to be patrons of this channel. You put up with my head problems, you put up with my part builds, my painted figures that you'll see a lot of, and then they suddenly disappear and then appear about 5 months later. That's just how it is, unfortunately. So we're going to talk goldfish now. Yes. Keep away from the skip button. You'll regret it. Goldfish. Yeah, we're not talking about the little golden fish that swim in a tank. We're talking about the Yokosuka E14Y1 Model 11 Early float plane, which you hopefully will see a picture of on the little thumbnail thing, which will probably ruin the surprise really. I've probably built this up a bit more than it warrants. It is a 1/72 scale aircraft. I've built it to the best of my abilities at the moment. As I say, I've come back after 30 odd years of not building kits, so probably the last couple of years, 18 months, 2 years, I don't know. Frog in my throat again, I do apologise. Try again. Right, yeah, it's a 1 in 72 scale aircraft. When I was a youngster, I stopped building models, I think around about 18. The last one was a World War II fighter plane. I've mentioned it before, the Messerschmitt 109G. I think it was a Revell. I might be wrong on that one. It's been a long time. That was the last one, and I built everything as I do now. Sea, air and land really. It was whatever took my fancy at the time. And I went on to painting wargame soldiers, never wargaming, just painting. I used to give them away and all the rest of it, and as I say, it's taken me this long to come back into modelling, and I'm having to do it really from a standing start, because back in the day I didn't fill things. I never filled a thing in my life. If I used an old emery board just to clean bits off, and then hit it with a brush with some Humbrol enamels or Airfix enamels, and in the later stages some acrylics, but that was it. So as I say, I'm still building my armour. I've got a 1 in 35 scale 38T German tank that Greg Riley sent me. That's been built at the moment. When I've got it actually all in its raw plastic, I'll do an update on that, but I just thought it's only a little tank, and I'm only doing an hour every other night or so it's taken a while to get it to that stage, but once it is, we'll have a look at that. But I like the 1 in 72 scale aircraft. That there's something that I can learn on, and I can keep them in a cabinet for a while because they're not too big. I will be doing some, I say, the foil project. That's going to have a proper model build when I've got a bit more foil on it. So I'm just learning how that lies down on the plane and everything. So, but there will be a 1 in 48 scale. I'd had planned on my next aircraft build, I've mentioned it ages ago, I bought a second-hand 1 in 48 scale Starfighter jet fighter. It's my favourite aircraft post-war, with a jet engine in it. The only problem it came, I knew it didn't have any decals, but I bought it without decals. It's a Hasegawa in an Italiere boxing, so it's it's for its age, it's a decent kit. The only problem is, I've been looking on decals, and I can get the extra decals. So I've been told were around in, I think, the 80s and 90s, and it's great because they do literally about 5 different different countries. You can put the decals obviously from on my Starfighter, Belgium, Taiwan. I've got some lovely Taiwan ones, but Taiwan, Belgium, Spain, obviously Italy was well known for running it, and I do believe one of the last ones to run the Starfighter. The only problem is, as far as I'm aware, now they're affordable, they're about £8 for a decal sheet, but I don't believe they come with stencil data. And now I'm stuffed, because I need stencil data. I'm not just going to stick decals on it. These, as you guys all know, I mean, I was surprised how many of the little Focke-Wulf had on them. And jet fighters, planes in general, they have a lot. Modern planes have a lot of, fairly modern planes have a lot of stencil data on. All the little in case you're not into aircraft, the little triangles saying "do not touch this" or "behind this panel is such and such." That type of stuff. So it'd be a shame to. It's a 1 in 48 scale aircraft, so you're going to see it missing. So, but I'm not paying £15-20 for a big pack of stuff. The model only cost me, I think, about 18 quid second hand. So no, I'm not paying that type of dough for it. So unfortunately, that will have to stay in the box until at some stage I just magically hit the eBay. I'm always looking on eBay for the decals for this blooming Starfighter. The stencil data particularly, but we'll get there. Anyway, this was supposed to be a reveal of the float plane. So yeah, it's called goldfish I believe in Japanese, or its nickname, or that's what I believe anyway. Goldfish. It's also allied reporting name is the Glen. We'll go and have a look at it in a minute, and I'll tell you a bit more about it. But yeah, so very enjoyable. Probably built it up a bit more than you guys will just think. Yeah, well, I've really enjoyed it. It's been a fantastic build. The company is called Hobby 2000. I've just dropped spare decals. So Hobby 2000, there's their logo. Now what they do is rebox, so far that I can see, Hasegawa and Fujimi kits. I presume they're all recessed panel lines. The one I have is it's a rebox of a Fujimi, so I'm told. They come with a mask set, and they come with decals from Cartograph. So and this one cost me, I believe, £12. So for if you're not in a mad rush, 12 quid, for what you get in it, it's just been a really enjoyable project. The plane fit together really well. There's a couple of minor issues which are mine again, but hopefully these minor issues will fade into the background over the next couple of years. But at the moment, obviously, I still hit the bumpy road of not knowing what the hell I'm doing. But really, really enjoyable. One of those builds where I'd had the T. I bought it hard on the heels of the T-34 track debacle, and I just needed something to pick me up, because I enjoy my modelling. It's different from my figure painting, but almost the same. It's not the same, I know, but I've keep telling you guys, I love military history. I love military vehicles, air, sea, land. Whatever it is, it's all wrapped up in the same thing for me. So it's just been really enjoyable. It was a real pick-up to do. As I say, a few things I've done wrong with it, but again, that's just my own learning curve that I'm hitting at the moment. But it was one of those where you can say, I'm like the Focke-Wulf I'm actually proud I've got it in my cabinet. You know, it's just been a really nice build, and I'll tell you what, I've only built the one, but if they're packaging them the way they're doing with these, with the mask sets, for those of us that wouldn't be particularly great at masking, although I don't mind having a go at that, and as I say, cartograph decals, so you know that they're going to lie down really well. They do some jets. Of course, all the it seems to be, because they're reboxing Hasegawa kits, and Hasegawa kits you can't get in the UK these days, or unless they are really stupid money. Most of the Hasegawa stuff at Hannant's, reboxed by these guys, was out of stock. So they do the Phantoms and things like that. Well, they're not in stock. But if you're into the unusual, like Gavi's, there's plenty of that stuff there. So let's go down and have a look. Right guys, thanks for joining me at the bench. This is the Yokosuka E14Y1 Model 11 Early. Say Allied reporting name Glenn, and the Japanese name of Goldfish. It was carried on their the large I-class submarines like the I-7. This one is actually, it says on the paint Dubry, is from the I-7 in 1942. Now, I'm not sure if it was the Yokosuka that flew post Pearl Harbor. The I-7 was sent to fly reconnaissance mission over Pearl Harbor to see obviously the damage and things like that. She flew a few days later, I believe, and I'm not sure if this is to commemorate, as in, well, not commemorate, but if it's from that time period. As you say, it's in this. It's painted silver dope. The airframe is wooden, so as you can see, all the, well, you might not be able to see it because of the lights. Let's just turn this right hand one. Always is a bit problematical when it comes to. We'll keep it like that, I think. I'll just turn it down. There we go, that's a bit better. Yeah, it's a wooden frame, apart from obviously the front bit that would have a steel piece on to mount the engine or whatever. Aluminium floats. I would imagine an aluminium frame for it to all sit on. This is actually, it was a nice touch, I thought. It's a catapult for which you stick together. The I-7, I think, was one of the last ones that actually flew a catapult, or the catapult was at the rear of the submarine. The later ones that came along was at the front. The submarine would, the float plane would be kept in a cylinder more or less, and with a big rubber seal on the front, obviously to keep the water out and the pressure and all that type of stuff. The wings, I'm not sure exactly how they if they actually folded back, if they were actually taken off completely. I can't remember now for the life of me. I've tried to get as much info on it as I could. I like to know the builds that I'm doing, and it only took a very short amount of time for them to obviously stick the wings together and have her ready for the flight crew to to take her out. There is no surviving examples. Well, there's two, and they're at the bottom of the ocean, and they're all bust up on a wreck, and you can see the steel frame for the engine. But a lot of the rest is disappeared, apart from the very obviously core bits of metal that's in there. Two-man crew, no armament apart from a defensive machine gun, which was specially stowed. It was not provided in the kit, which, if it's specially stowed, you could say that it wasn't even on show. So that wasn't a problem. I'll give you a bit more history on it. The float plane itself was the second Axis aircraft to fly over New Zealand. There was a German float plane from one of their merchant raiders that did fly over New Zealand before that, but the Yokosuka was the second one. It flew a few missions over New Zealand. They do say a fair few might not even have been recorded, because a few submarines were lost, and obviously their logbooks were lost with them. And in those early days, there wasn't a lot of radar, especially in the more far-flung countries, compared to, say, the chain home radar, around Britain, obviously, which we're trying to defend against the Luftwaffe. So these float planes came into their own because a lot of the time they flew over countries that never even knew that they'd been flown over, even though they're quite bright. And I've got to say, it was the colour scheme that drew me to the aircraft. They do two types of this, by the way. The box art, I almost thought it was that IGN light grey, but it turns out it's dope silver. But they do a second box that's in dark green, and I do believe it's probably not far off. The only thing that's changed is the decals and the colour scheme, really. But yeah, flew over New Zealand. It flew over. It did reconnaissance for the mini sub raid on Sydney Harbour, and also flew other parts of over other, dock areas of Australia as well. A couple of times it was picked up, and this isn't particularly I-7s. I'm just talking about the Yokosuka in general. It was picked up a couple of times, but and a few times challenged by anti-aircraft fire, but not fighters. Again, without the radar detection, which the Americans did have slightly around obviously Hawaii. We'll come to that in a minute. And but Australia, I don't believe they had a lot of, and obviously New Zealand further down didn't have a lot of, if any, radar. And also the aircraft that was sent up to them were the normal fighter aircraft without radar again. So if they were flying a night mission or in the dusk, or it's something that they couldn't be, they needed visual. And it wasn't until radar started to be introduced more that these aircraft type of reconnaissances from submarine really made them irrelevant, really. But as I say, it did fly over Sydney, and its information was used to help plan the mini sub raid on Sydney. It flew over other parts of Australia as well. It flew over Pearl Harbor after the Pearl Harbor raid. I don't know if it's a few days or a couple of weeks later, I'm not sure. They used, I'm not sure if it was a Yokosuka, but I believe it was, that flew over again, and flew over and back, and as far as I'm aware, wasn't challenged. I'm not sure that, as you guys probably know, there was a second Pearl Harbor raid, a minuscule one, by two extremely large Japanese seaplanes, and I can't for the life of me think the Allied reporting name of it at the moment. They went over. It was a really long distance flight. They had to refuel at one of the atolls, and then fly on to Pearl Harbor. One dropped, it was bad weather I believe, one dropped its bombs harmlessly into the sea without realising, and the other one against a hillside without damage to human life or property. But that was the second Pearl Harbor raid, and I'm not sure if the Yokosuka also flew pre-reconnaissance for those as well. And then it famously did the only bombs dropped that they know of from a Japanese or Axis aircraft on the United States when it firebombed the forests, or tried to drop some incendiaries on the Oregon forests. As we know from past experience, they can burn quite easy, unfortunately. And the Japanese had been later on was sending weather balloons, as you guys know, with incendiary devices on them. That they were never really successful, and neither was this. I mean, she carries two. I can't remember again if they're 50 or 100-pound bombs. I've put the bomb cradle attachment debris under the wings, but I decided in the end not to put the bombs on because it never really dropped bombs apart from on that one raid that we're aware of. So yeah, it was the only known aircraft bombing of the United States during the war. I can't understand why they didn't just use them to do nuisance raids, just dropping 200-pound bombs. It's enough to keep people on edge. Why they didn't bomb, larger area, city areas or whatever. But we're here to talk about the model now, so I just wanted to give you a bit of context on what this little float plane did. It wasn't massively powerful. Obviously, it was to carry on board a submarine, even a large one. So again, it's not. It doesn't have a powerful engine. It was supposed to be on rough, choppy seas. It had problems regaining the submarine, obviously, because of its small engine. Right, let's have a better look. I have put, and you're not going to probably see that, there's some of that rigging wire. I put a couple of dots of paint on to put I don't know if it's the tensioning, I don't know what you call them, but like the reels to tension it, or if they're like diodes of some description, I've got no idea. But I put two blobs of thick paint on there just to represent those. The antenna itself was the last to go on, and do you think I can get it straight? I tried it with that crystal clear because I was worried about the super glue. If I put super glue on, misting up the glass that it was sat on top of, but the crystal clear just wasn't holding it, so I ended up putting super glue on, and it's still at a slight angle. So let's have a look. Inside is like I believe the IGN green for cockpit green. There's different cockpits, so I found out colours for the different manufacturers. So maybe a Mitsubishi green will be different from one of the other manufacturers. Now, the one thing I didn't, as you can see, it's got a shine on it there because I put a semi-gloss on after I put the decals on, and like a plonker, I was so chuffed with what everything looked like. I took the masks off the canopy, and then thought, this is on a daub surface, so probably stuff wouldn't be shiny. You wouldn't have that metal sheen to it. But I wasn't going to try and mask the canopy again. So she's again Gav cock up. One of the other cock ups, the spacer for the propeller that fits in there, I left it out. Why, I've no idea, because I'd put it all in my little bucket of parts and cleaned it all off and still forgot to put it in. So the propeller is very slightly closer to the fuselage than it should be. I believe the decals have sat down fairly well for me anyway. These Hinamaru the circles, they sat down fairly well on the obviously on the rib surface there. I've not got them particular. I'm going to take this antenna off in a minute. I did my best getting them down on here. As you can see, they're not perfect, but again, I've just got so much to learn. It's just taking time, So I've got our little landing lights on there underneath. I've done some weathering that you can't really see. I wanted to do it really not like the Focke-Wulf. Let's put it that way. This was doing occasional flights from a submarine. I just thought it might have some obviously weathering from the engine and from being cooped up, and the wings actually being stowed in the submarine itself. But yeah, everything went together well. I did put the only thing I did, again, I like to show you the warts and all. Let me just turn this around. I'm just trying not to catch that antenna. Where are we, Gav? Yeah, you can see underneath, if you can see, with the silver bouncing off everything. I did the CA glue method of filling a slight gap there, and it wasn't a big one. But whether I've hammered it too hard with me sanding and scraping with my scalpel, I've actually rippled that very slightly, which is a bit annoying. I mean, it's underneath, you won't see it. Decals. The only other problem with the decals was these. If by following the guidelines up to this leading edge here of the ribs, the Japanese kanji script that you see on the side, they've got some at the bottom there. I had to cut that off because it just flopped over the side, and I didn't want to move them further forward because they weren't like that on the aircraft that I could see. So no, lovely little lovely little project that. Oh, by the way, there is only one rudder on the float planes as well, not two. So let me just get that back on the, because I'm going to catch that, and I do want to put it in the cabinet. The catapult would obviously be a bit longer in real life, I imagine, from what I've seen on the black and white photographs. It operated with compressed air that shot the plane forward, and there was a little electric crane that they operated to pull the aircraft out. There's been occasions when they actually just dumped the aircraft, left the aircraft, and obviously busted up so it'd sink when they couldn't get it back on board quick enough. Done a bit of discoloration on the exhausts down there. As I say, I used oils to do the slight weathering that's on the aircraft, and just to pick out some of the panel line details on it here as well. I just thought it was a nice colour as well, the red against. As I say, at first I thought it was IGN light grey, but I was really proud of me masking off there again. I had, the only issue I had with overspray was not when I'd masked it. I took it off, and then there was a couple of bits that I hadn't, because I'd sprayed red on top of the silver, there was a blooming couple of bits I'd missed. So I then put a card in front and some kitchen roll around it, which I shouldn't have done. I should have just masked it off again. And then I had some, of course, I did have some red overspray, which you'll see the higher silver bits there I've had to respray. But I don't mind that. Again, in real life, if work had been done, they'd have put fresh daub on the aircraft, so I don't really mind that. No, I really enjoyed that, guys. It was, as I say, it was a lovely little build, a lovely little morale booster. As I say, use my airbrush. Its paints were all Gunsei, the different Gunsei paints. That's IGN red on the back, and I can't remember this. It's now Super Silver or something it's called. I think they got two, and I wasn't sure what would look right with a daub. Dope. I keep calling it daub. Dope. And the black. Oh, the black is not. The black is the AK real colours, because I happen to have a couple of them. But even that, I was quite happy how that turned out. Again, it's all small beer to a lot of you guys that do it. But when you're starting out and you have and things go wrong, which they're going to do when you're learning, you just got to accept it, that unless you're amazingly talented, things will go wrong. And when they start going a bit right, you feel really good. The only other thing, as you can see, is the canopy. Again, I'm just not getting canopies at the moment. I'm hoping that'll change as I carry on building them. So yeah, I'm not saying I'll always be 1/72. I'll be 1/48 scale aircraft as well. As I say, I'm a bit stuffed with my Starfighter. I was going to do that. I have got the Mi-8 helicopter and a Kamov helicopter as well I could be building, which I might well do. Yeah, I might do that Mi-8 next, just to save money on getting another kit when I've got one in the stash. So yeah, guys, thank you very much for taking the time to stop by and watch the video. It's really appreciated. As I say, Hobby 2000, thoroughly recommend it. They seem to range from, in the UK, from a price of around £12 to £15, depending on the type of plane you want. And it looks like the Hasegawas might be slightly more expensive, the Hasegawa reboxes. So guys, look after yourselves. Up and coming videos, I don't have a clue, to be honest with you. You know me, it'll probably be some figures, and then the 38T will be getting an outing probably sometime over the weekend or early next week. Look after yourselves. I've been enjoying a lot of the videos that I've been watching, even when it's not my stuff, like a lot of the car guys. There's been some cracking stuff being shown, and as I say, it might not be my thing, but I always enjoy the enthusiasm and the attention to detail that people put into their projects. So look after yourselves, and we'll catch each other very soon on another video.